This podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, hosted by the BatmanUniverse.net. Check out everything related to Batman and the entire Bat family at the BatmanUniverse.net, including news and original content related to comics, movies, television, merchandise, video games, and more. Also, check out some of the other unique podcasts that TBU has to offer. Consider supporting this podcast by becoming a patron on Patreon. Even $1 can go a long way in supporting this content that you enjoy. Look for a link over at thebatmanuniverse.net to offer your support now. And now, on with the show.
Scarecrows frightened of the clouds, laughing boys. I am a Batman. I am a Batman. Shine that signal, come out to play. I am a Batman. I am a Batman. Bring it on, Batman. Jump out your cave, 'cause I am a Batman. I am a Batman. Shine that signal, come out and play. I am a Batman.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 237 of the one and only Dublin Dane. My name is Tim, and joining me as always, as we are finally back after a bit of a break, hiatus, whatever you want to call it, but we're back now, and of course, I can't do this without Dublin Dane himself. Dane, how's it going, boy?
It's going good, Tim. Been a while since we've talked, since we've done this, since we've did this podcast. So and a lot has happened. We got another Kenobi trailer, Last Ronin 5. You saw Doctor Strange and the Mirrors of Madness, or whatever it's called.
Not
Dreams
quite
of
the title,
Madness,
but
or-
close.
Wait, don't tell me, Tim. I gotta guess it, okay? I saw it. I saw the posters in my head, Tim. I can't. The Mysteries of Madness? No.
No.
The Miracles of Madness? No.
Those aren't bad titles, by the way, the one
Yeah.
you're saying.
The Multiverse of Madness.
There you go.
Of
There you go.
Madness?
There, that's it. You got it right.
Okay, good. Oh. I knew I saw that poster, Tim. I knew I saw that poster repeatedly.
I do like
So,
the
yeah.
Mirrors of Madness. That has a nice
Yeah.
ring to it.
Yeah, you gotta fight. You gotta fight your own image.
Well, in
Or-
Doctor Strange, they established the mirror dimension, so that would be a title that could apply to the Doctor
Yeah.
Strange world. So it's not too far out of reach.
You gotta fight yourself. Which it's funny because I can't remember who it was, but I was talking with somebody and then they were like, we were talking about Star Wars, and then they thought the Clone Wars was something where like was a war where you had to fight your own clone.
Oh wow. Well, hey, before episode 2, I mean, the Clone Wars is up to your imagination, really. It could have
Yeah.
been that could have been it for you if you're just thinking about possibilities of what the Clone Wars could have been. So
Like, are you fighting yourself? Did they make clones of yourself, or did they make clones of? Yeah.
But no, yeah, it's good to be back. Like you said, a lot of stuff since we last recorded. I know just life stuff and certain circumstances getting in the way of recording normally on our schedule, and certain things coming up out of the blue. But we're back now. Excited to talk about all this stuff. And Dane, I know it's technically it already passed, but I don't think we can start the episode any other way than to acknowledge and officially celebrate our 10-year anniversary of doing the Bat-Fans podcast. Let me blow your party favors, your confetti, your balloons, your blowers, clap your hands, whatever you want to do. I think for this maybe one time we can, no, maybe our second time, 'cause I think we did this when we finished our Dark Knight Rises minute by minute commentaries. If we could just give ourselves a little pat on the back right here and sticking around 10 years doing this podcast together. And I know we started out with 4 hosts with Gary and PJ, and it would have been awesome if we could have continued all this together for the 10 years, and then also with Rob and Terrence. But doing pretty much almost every episode for 10 years with you and me, Dane, almost on every one. There's probably a few mixed in where we're not on it, but I will just say it's been an honor and a privilege doing this show with you for the past 10 years. So when we started back in 2012, didn't know how long it would last. A couple of years, 5, I don't know. But to say we've been doing this for a decade is something I'm proud of. So Dane, congratulations.
Oh, Tim, you're gonna make me cry.
Yeah, it's going to be an emotional episode. Preparing you right now.
Yeah. But yeah, like, well, I mean, if you consider our time before we started on the Batman universe, we've been podcasting for well over 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Together.
Because technically, 2011 is when we first started podcasting together over on Gotham Knights Online. So yeah, it has been over 10.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. So it's been wow. Yeah, that's a long time. That's a long time every other Saturday to be podcasting. Yeah.
No, yeah, but April, it was like the end of April. Now I can't remember the exact date. Our first episode premiere was like April, like I want to say like around the 20th, so towards the end of April when our first episode premiered, which was kind of just of an introductory episode. And I think about 2 weeks ago when we were planning to record on our normal schedule, I went back and listened to that very first episode. Not all of it, just kind of scanned through, just kind of see what it was like. And it was just kind of fun to go back to that time period of where things were at in the Batman and this DC fandom, just being excited for the Dark Knight Rises being the main thing, and still kind of coming fresh off the launch of the New 52 and being excited about those new books. And one thing I forgot about was in that episode how we're all just kind of sharing our Batman origin story and telling us how we got into the character and all that type of stuff. And the one I forgot about, Dane, was your story and what you said and how kind of the origins of your Batman fandom. And it was, I believe, if I remember right, it was how you mentioned there was I believe it was the audio book or audio dramas of was it Nightfall or Azrael, like being stuck in your like dad's car like tape player, and it just kept playing all the time. And that was kind of your early genesis. Am I accurate on that, or am I mixing the titles of what you're actually listening to?
Yeah, it was the Nightfall audio. It wasn't an audio book. Audio drama.
The audio drama. Like, okay.
Yeah, it was an audio drama. It was stuck in there. We got it stuck in there for some reason. And my history with stuck cassette tapes in my cars, or in cars that I've ridden in when I was a kid, and when I drove, when I started driving, is very extensive. So yeah, that was it. Well, I'm glad you went back because I totally forgot about that.
Right, me too.
Yeah.
I know my origin story is pretty boring compared to that. Just my standard go-to. I can't remember a time where I wasn't a Batman fan, and I don't know exactly what got me into it. Decided it was always there, but you have a great, very fun, amusing origin story for your Batman fandom. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, the only reason why I found the Batman universe, really, or the podcast network, was because this was like in the early days of iTunes. I think Batman universe had been around for like 2 years at that point, and I was looking for the Prince Batman soundtrack on iTunes. I scrolled down and I was like, hey, well, what is a podcast?
Yeah, right.
And B, what is this Batman universe thing? That's how I found the Batman universe. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just looking back on that first episode, man, we hit we tried to review a lot of books back then, all in one episode. It was just pretty much anything with the Batman title in a comic book. We had to somehow talk about a review, and it was just remembering back in those days, we were just trying so hard to cover everything and reading some stuff that obviously was gonna, where you have that many to talk about, gonna be hit and miss, especially during that period of the New 52. But just thinking about just how it started and kind of how it's evolved into what we're doing now, just being more of a fan base genre a podcast, of not just limiting ourselves to Batman, but covering all the geeky stuff that we're into and talking about. It's been a lot of fun over the last 10 years. So yeah, just definitely had to acknowledge that milestone for our little show that could.
Well, I mean, that was the original concept of the show, was not only to talk or to have an ADD sort of conversation about everything. Not really so much focus on Batman, you know.
And just covering, making sure we get all the news stories out there, just kind of following a formula like that. So yeah, we did want it to be, again, because we definitely, the first few started off just, strictly Batman, DC stuff, and kind of limiting ourselves to that. And to be honest, Dane, if I remember right, I think what kind of propelled us into talking more outside of just Batman and DC fandom was the Star Wars announcement, when Disney acquiring Star Wars and Lucasfilm.
Oh, right.
I think that was kind of like our first off-brand topic that we did. Yeah. And I'm looking at my folder of like all our episode art that we accumulated and created over the years. I remember the first one that was not Batman related was episode 16, which is an image of Darth Vader and Batman in a lightsaber duel. And I believe that was our first one where we just kind of talked about the Lucasfilm acquisition by Disney and the future of Star Wars. And then kind of going from there, just talking about that, we did talk more Star Wars and just incorporating all the other fandom and genre stuff that we like to over the years. But I believe that was our first one, episode 16.
And that was what, 2012?
Yeah, it was definitely end of 2012. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So I guess it was Star Wars that turned this podcast into this. Yeah.
So if you like the transformation, you can thank Star Wars. If you hate what we've become over the last 10 years, you can blame Star Wars. But hopefully that is not the case.
If you hate what we've become.
Yeah. That's not a very comic book superhero bit of dialogue right there,
right? I hate what we've become. Whatever this mess is.
I guess that could be our new tagline. Because I remember our first tagline, I think that Terrence, when he was, I believe, like just as a listener, I think before he came on as a co-host, or maybe it was right when he came on, but I just loved his tagline that he created for us, where the Bat-Fans podcast. If you're listening to a Batman podcast, it's probably not this one.
Oh man, I forgot about that. Oh man, that's a great we gotta bring that back too. Like, we gotta reintroduce this show as Dublin Dane. If you're listening to a Batman podcast, it probably isn't this one.
I don't know, but now I was thinking if we should just add Dublin Dane, we hate what we've become now. Or Dublin Dane, if you're listening to a Batman podcast, it's not this one, and we hate what we've become.
Yeah.
This is a super long title.
But yeah, just add a colon on there, It'll be our, Star Wars episode 2, the Attack of the Clones. Right?
Well, there is no the Attack of the Clones. It's just
Attack
of the Clones.
Sorry, Attack of the Clones. Sorry, Tim. But yeah, I'm glad you brought up like how we were like reviewing all those books and stuff, and like we had to review every book or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird how like, I don't know, podcasting philosophy has changed over the years, where now it's like, yeah, we don't have to hit that. I mean, like whatever. Like like you have this lackadaisical sort of mentality now, where it's like, if we didn't hit it, we didn't hit it, and let's just talk about what we're into right now.
Exactly.
At the moment,
Yeah, because it just felt like you don't want it to be where it feels like a job or a chore that you have
Sure.
to do this type thing and do the things even if you're not enjoying this particular book, but you have to. And like I said, just having that more relaxed, fun aspect to do it, because that's what it should be, talking about what you want to talk about and not just feeling almost like, especially back then, if you're starting new, just feel like you want to make a name for your show and your podcast and making sure you're covering everything. You want to be the one-stop shop that has everything covered type basis, and you feel you have to do that. But it's definitely more fun and relaxing to just to do an episode and talk about the stuff you actually want to talk about and have the discussions you're into and invested in. And so it's definitely been a change for the better, I would definitely say.
Yeah, and keep it loosey goosey.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's another bit of trivia for you, Dane. Do you remember our very first rating scale?
I do, because you brought it up recently.
Did I?
And by recently, I say within the last year. It was Neil Adams' Batman, right? The finger hair on Neil Adams' Batman, right? For
Close.
us.
It was.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was the knuckle hair too, but it was
Yeah.
Batman Odyssey chest hair.
Oh, chest hair. I thought we did knuckle hair.
So did I.
That was
I
a
thought that
hairy
was-
Batman. Yeah.
Yeah, that was our very first rating scale. But I know since we don't really review as much as the comics anymore, we haven't done our rating scale, but we will on this one because we do have a comic to talk about. So we'll have to think of some to get back into those fun categories that we've had with our rating scales. And boy, I'm sure there were some doozy ones over the course of these 10 years. I can't remember them all, but that would be fun to go back just to check every episode and rank our rating scales. Maybe do a top 5 or top 10 of our rating scales.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'll have the time to go back and listen to every episode and try to remember all the ones we did.
Speaking of comics, you know what I started reading to?
What's that?
Usagi Yojimbo.
Oh, nice.
Well, I am in the beginning of the sort of omnibus edition. I'm in like the third story arc, even though it's like all connected into one big storyline.
Okay.
But so far it has. I wouldn't think it would. A story about a rabbit that is a samurai doesn't sound too appealing, right? But yeah, it does. It's the artwork. That's really working. It's the characters. It's it's weird how it works. You know, like from the outside looking in, it's sort of like it's sort of like, man, like that doesn't look good at all. But then you read it, and then it's like, oh my god, this is actually good. You know. So yeah, I've been enjoying it.
That's good because it's something I definitely want to check out. I mean, like you just mentioned, just the artwork and design of Usagi Yojimbo is classic now. I mean, the drawings and designs by Stan Sakai, I think they're so recognizable. And of course, I assume it's the same for you too, but I only first discovered and found out about Usagi Yojimbo through Ninja Turtles and the crossovers that they had, even back in the original animated series where I first heard of the character and had his action figure. And didn't find out till later how it was kind of totally he wasn't part of the Ninja Turtles franchise, but it was his own thing later on. And they just came out with a Netflix series too that I want to check out. It looks, the animation style is CG 3D, but the character designs are a little different. I kind of wished it would just kind of stuck to the classic look and have it be more in line to how he looks in the comics. But at the same time too, I still want to check it out and see how they do their adaptation of that, because the potential's there for a cool series with the Usagi Yojimbo universe and the characters that I've seen kind of show up in some of the Ninja Turtle crossovers that he has been a part of, and think it could be cool to sustain its own series. So I definitely want to check that out as well.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. Because of the Ninja Turtles is the only reason why I know, or I wanted to read Usagi Yojimbo. And like it was just perfect timing because the books were on sale on Comixology. I was like, you know what? I'll just pick up the first 4 omnibus editions and check them out. And I have been, again, like I said, surprised. If you really like the IDW Turtles, you're gonna like Usagi Yojimbo. Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely got to check that out sooner rather than later. Move it higher up on my list of comic stories that I should read.
Oh, and that Netflix show, that's about his son.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, in the
See, well,
future. Yeah.
okay, see, that makes total sense because
Yeah.
that's why it looks different. And honestly, I knew they were making an animated series, but it snuck up on me that it's already out. I was like, wow, okay, this is, I didn't know it was out already. I don't remember seeing a trailer for it. When I saw it, like, oh, this looks different than I expected. But okay, that makes total sense. Okay, that's why
Yeah.
it looks the way it does. Thank you for pointing that out. So no, I made myself sound like an idiot talking
No,
about
no, I
it.
just wanted to, make sure.
Oh yeah, I'm glad
That, yeah.
you did. All right, just real quick before we move off from talking about our 10-year anniversary, I just wanted to pinpoint the exact date when our first episode aired or was released because it was bugging me as we were talking about it. April 20th, 2012. That's when our first episode was published. So
Wow.
I was
April 20th, 2011, right?
2012.
2012. So that was right before Dark Knight Rises came out, right?
Oh, yep. That's kind of what our main focus and hype was those first few episodes. Just getting excited for the premiere of Dark Knight Rises. Because that,
Yeah.
I believe it was episode 8 was our Dark Knight Rises review.
Oh, wow. I didn't know it was that soon.
Yeah, it was pretty early.
That early.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was episode 8.
Wow. We've come a long way, Tim.
Yes, good times though. Good times.
Yeah.
But something we weren't doing in that first year was minute by minute commentaries because Dark Knight Rises wasn't even out on Blu-ray yet for us to do the commentary. But we've made it past over that 10 years. We've done that long 2.5-hour movie. So obviously, as you know by now, we decided to go bigger with a 3.5-hour movie with the Fellowship of the Ring. And we are going to continue that on this episode by going from minute 25 to minute 26. So yes, still a whole long ways to go for this one. Probably another 10 years as we talked about and joked about before we started the commentary for the Fellowship of the Ring of how long it will take to complete it. But we're making progress. So as always, if you want to grab your VHS copy, your Betamax copy, your Laserdisc copy, your DVD copy, HD DVD, your projector, your Blockbuster membership video card to go rent it, your Netflix physical media, your DVHS tape, and as always, your VHS converted to DVD copy that you made on your PC. I think I had everything. It's been a while since we did our last episode doing a commentary mentioning all those relevant media formats, but hopefully I had them all covered. But if you have all those ready, you want to go to the 25-minute mark, and I'll give the countdown. Dane, are you ready?
Do you think if we started the Lord of the Rings commentary back in 2012, do you think we'd be done by now?
I would say yes. I would like to say 10 years would be enough time to go through all that.
Or where do you think in the movie we would be?
Like I said, hopefully at the very end
or
credits. Well, we're gonna find out over the course of the next decade.
Definitely out of this party scene, which has been going on for 25 episodes now.
It feels like it.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if we make it through on this one because we're really close. All right,
yes, I am ready. I'm ready.
Give the countdown. 3, 2, 1, play. Bilbo takes the ring out of his pocket, hiding it. He looks nervous. Feel like I'm doing a play-by-play for a sports game right here, but Bilbo announcing the end, but not the end of the movie. That's for sure.
Imagine if you're at this party and then this happened and he disappeared.
The hobbits do like their festive party, so it had to be something that they'd never obviously seen before. I mean, they love the fireworks
Yeah.
and the amazing display of those shows, and what a way to cap it off by Bilbo disappearing. I'm sure making several hobbits happy, like the Sackville Baggins is. I do like that ring flip he does right there. Like, yep, I did it. Now I'm off.
You know what I realized? Or I should say, well, you know what I realized about this movie is that the ring changes sizes. It doesn't stay one size. Like, it'll form to like the person's hand, and it'll get bigger when somebody's holding it. It'll look more distinct and ridged.
Is it?
Throughout,
Are you
throughout
talking
the
about more
movies.
from like a technical size and how they filmed it, or just like the ring in general? How it
No,
in the
the
story?
ring in the movie. Yeah, the
Okay.
ring in the movie. Like, it changes sizes. It becomes bigger, smaller. It'll fit around a hobbit's finger, and it'll fit around just a regular human's finger. So it changes sizes and it looks different. Sometimes it looks smooth, sometimes it looks ridged, sometimes what have you, right? I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting choice where like the ring changes sizes and stuff, and it forms to whoever has possession of it.
Yeah, that, to be honest, I never really thought about it or noticed it too much, but it makes total sense for, like, obviously a magic ring and having different users. It's
Yeah.
gonna have to change size to fit the
Right.
person's ring who's wearing it. Yeah. See?
Oh, I knew something that Tim didn't about
Right?
Lord
You
of the
noticed
Rings.
something I
Wow.
never really thought of, but to be
Yeah.
honest, but
You want to talk about monumental episodes? This is one of them too.
Mark
We
this
should
one.
mark this down. Yeah.
10 years after our first episode, Dane just stumps Tim on something
Yeah.
that he's never thought about over the course of the 10 years of talking about this or doing this podcast. Because Lord of the Rings has come up in some of our conversations, obviously before doing this commentary, and
Yeah.
never really thought about it.
Yeah, I was just noticing that because I can't remember which character had it in his. Oh, when what's his name? The guy in the beginning, the human, cuts off Sauron's fingers, and then
Isildur.
the ring, Isildur, and then he crushes one of the fingers and then holds the ring in his hand. It looks giant. It looks like a really big ring, but then you see him wearing it, right,
Mhm.
or around his neck, and then you see it on Bilbo and stuff. So, and you see it on Frodo. So, like, it changes sizes, and especially in that first scene after he crushes the finger, and like there's like the ash around it
Yeah.
of Sauron's dead finger, burnt finger. And, like, it looks giant. Yeah,
Well, we learned something new.
yeah,
That's what these minute by minute commentaries are all about.
yeah.
All right. So with that, I guess we can get into our feature topics, I guess, if you want to use it in a plural sense, because we'll be doing some reviews for some pretty big releases. And I guess starting off first, I'll start with my review of the latest MCU movie, Doctor Strange and the Mirrors of Madness, as Dane likes to call it, so aka Multiverse of Madness. And Dane, I know you watch MCU movies later on when they hit Disney Plus that to catch your interest. So do you mind if I just go full-blown spoilers in this one when I talk about it?
Oh, Tim, I was really looking forward to this movie, and no, I really hope. I mean, no, do not, because I really wanted to see this movie. No, of course you can, Tim. Of course you can.
I didn't
mean,
believe
like,
a word of that. You were saying.
I mean, I doubt I would. Look, I'm gonna have a lot of questions for you, Tim, during this conversation, because I'm sure everything gets mixed up, and for some reason Spider-Man's in it, and for some reason like the Avengers are in it, and Elizabeth Olsen. Oh no, she's an Avenger, right?
Yeah.
Or Peggy Carter's in it for some reason, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have a lot of questions. So yeah, go ahead and spoil everything about this movie because in general, like it won't make sense to me unless.
Anyway,
And I don't mean I mean that I am stupid is what I'm trying to say.
no, don't say. You're just not fully invested as I am, so that's why. Not
Yeah.
stupid.
Well, Tim, just to kick this review off of this Doctor Strange movie, I do have a question, not about this movie, but about the Spider-Man movie. No Way
Okay.
Home. They brought back the lizard guy. They brought back Jamie Foxx. They didn't bring back Paul Giamatti. They brought back Willem Dafoe, of course, and Doc Ock. They brought him back. Alfred Molina. I really liked the movie when it came out, and I gotta say my opinion has changed on it. And do you know why,
No.
Tim?
No, I don't. I'm kind
No,
of scared to
why?
find out.
Macho Man Randy Savage
Uh,
is in the movie. Spider-Man's first villain from the first Spider-Man movie. I thought that Marvel and everybody at Sony and the directors and the writers and the cast cared about Spider-Man, but it's clear that they do not. I think they should definitely have brought back Macho Man Randy Savage. I know that he is no longer with us, but neither was Peter Cushing, right?
true.
Tim,
True.
Tim.
True.
So how could they be so disrespectful, Tim, and not have brought back Macho Man Randy Savage? How dare they? How dare?
So, is it now your least favorite Spider-Man movie of all time?
Oh, of course. I've tossed this to the dustbin of history, Tim.
You tossed it away somewhere in the multiverse that no one can ever reach.
Yeah, I've locked it away in a mirror of madness. And I don't understand how they could disrespect the franchise so much by not bringing back Randy Savage, Macho Man Randy Savage.
I'm sorry you feel that way, Dane, but I mean, I got to be honest, it was a great scene in the first Spider-Man movie, so I understand
Yeah.
where you're coming from. So I guess I can't argue too much.
Tim, to us true fans, okay, not you fake fans out there.
Wow, Dane's calling everyone out now.
You would agree with me. You would agree with me that Spider-Man's first villain would be in this movie.
All right. Also, speaking of Spider-Man, I mean, how hard is it to believe that movie's 20 years old now? Just a few days ago.
God.
It was like,
I feel so old.
right? If 10 years of doing this podcast didn't make you feel old, knowing Spider-Man is 20 years old, that's going to do it.
I remember me and my friends at the time. I was in middle school at the time, and of course didn't drive. So me and my friends after school went and caught the bus to go to the movie theater to see it.
Wow, a bus.
Yeah, we caught the city bus to go see it. So yeah, wow, I feel old.
Yeah, but what a great time it was, though. I just remember being in the theater and just going, man, they're nailing everything of what I love about Spider-Man. What makes his origin so great and one of the best ever. They just nailed it. Like, I just couldn't believe they were getting everything right. And I just can't believe after wishing and hoping so long to see a live action Spider-Man and the fact that they nailed it so beautifully in that first movie. I'll never forget that feeling of how I felt seeing that movie for the first time. And just, man, it's crazy to think about back then how the superhero genre movies were just getting started, just ready, haven't hit their stride yet, but Spider-Man played a big part as far as where these movies are at now today. Just not even imagining a team up movie like an Avengers happening, let alone a movie like Spider-Man No Way Home. Thinking back in 2002, how we would have 3 Spider-Mans 3 years later in different movies, and then they all come together for one awesome finale to a Spider-Man film. trilogy. I mean, it's just crazy to think about where we were 20 years ago and where we are right now. I mean, back then we thought it couldn't get any better than what we have with Spider-Man and then X-Men 2 years earlier. But boy, it's such a different time period, but just so fun to be a part of still there and just be a part of that journey of how far superhero and comic book movies have become or have come over the last 20 years. It's just awesome to be a part of.
Yeah, that's the thing too, right? Like, I know a lot of people don't like the Marvel movies or for whatever reason. And let's say Spider-Man: No Way Home. I'm sure there's people that do not like it, but and like, let's say I seriously didn't like it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thinking back, that one movie or any of the Marvel movies, Thor: Dark World, let's just pick that one, right? That would have blown, middle school Dane's mind at the time,
Sure.
right? As I'm sure it would have blown middle school Tim's mind, right? So, yeah, like I get it that these movies might not be perfect, but you gotta sort of think back to when you were a kid. If you're in your 30s now, let's say, you gotta think back to when you were a kid and how any one of these movies would have blown your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just appreciate it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, of course, like you said, you're not gonna like every one of these movies, but just to obsess over not liking it and just kind of beating a dead horse over and over again is just such not a great way to spend your time. And like you said, knowing that these movies are still for young fans too, to get them into this genre and these characters as well. So it's not all going to be catered to you and your age group type thing. So just things to keep in mind for when there's certain things you don't like and aspects of these comic book movies that you don't like. So just kind of always good to have those reminders sometimes. If you don't like it, move on to the next one, because there's definitely going to be there's a lot to choose from in the comic book movie genre. That's for sure. You just shouldn't obsess over one thing that you just really dislike so much. In my opinion,
Yeah.
at least that's how I try to do things.
Yeah, I'm not going to listen to you because they disrespected all Spider-Man fans by not adding Macho Man Randy Savage into No Way Home. So you could think what you want, Tim, but us true fans, we know what's up.
I guess I'm not a true fan then. I'm sorry. Well, Dane, I don't want to disappoint you, but he did not show up in the Multiverse of Madness either. So just want to temper your expectations now before you see it.
Worst movie of the year now. It's going to be the worst movie of the year. You want to bring in these multiverses, gotta have a Macho Man Randy Savage. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Dane has spoken. Well, speaking of who was in the Multiverse of Madness, and as you'll probably figure out by now, spoiler warning if you haven't seen it yet. But so I guess overall, my general thoughts of Multiverse of Madness, I loved a lot about it, but also came away disappointed with it in certain areas as well. Mainly, I wish they went more into the multiverse aspect of it. And that might sound strange because that's a big part of what the movie is, but I just kind of felt it wasn't the main focus like I thought it would be. Because it kind of felt really, I mean, it's a central theme, don't get me wrong, but when you have Multiverse of Madness, I was expecting like kind of crazy several multiverse iterations of different characters. And you got a little bit, there were about 3 different versions of Doctor Strange that we got, which was cool. But I guess I should say I was hoping for more multiverse hopping than what we got, because it was really they were in their own universe and got transported into just one other universe where they spent most of the time. There was a montage where you see Doctor Strange and America Chavez, who her character was the one who was able to punch portals into any universe, not by choice, but because she doesn't know how to control their powers yet. But it would just take them on a journey to a different universe. And we had this montage of both of them going through these different universes. You see them going through like a dinosaur world, an animated world, a world just made of paint. So all this different stuff, but it was just one quick sequence. And they spend most of their time only in one universe, which was the highlight of the movie. And I'll get into that. But I was hoping for more multiverse hopping where they spend a bit more time here or there in different universes, really diving into that madness aspect of the title. And I guess really also the multiverse having more of an impact in the MCU, because it really didn't. And it's not necessarily a bad thing yet, but I just think it'd be cool to kind of have it more seep through into the MCU where there's a bit more consequences of them diving into and tampering with the multiverse, because you got a hint of that in Spider-Man No Way Home when almost all these Spider-Man villains broke into this universe. And I actually thought that was going to be the kind of the catalyst of the story for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, where his actions in Spider-Man No Way Home kind of came back to haunt him in this movie, and things just got way out of hand. But it actually really had nothing to do with the events of Multiverse of Madness, because the movie starts off, we see a different universe Doctor Strange traveling with America Chavez, and by this big monster creature. They're trying to get this
Who is
book.
that, Tim?
I'm sorry?
Who is that? Who is that?
Who are you talking about?
America Chavez.
Okay. Yeah, she's a fairly recent comic book character. I believe like 2011. To be honest, I'm not really too familiar with her. I don't think I've really read any comics where she's in it. Just kind of found out more about her through when she was announced to be in this movie and through this movie and understanding her powers. So that's where the movie begins. They were kind of being chased by this monster in this area between space and time and multiverses, where they're trying to get this magical book. And that Doctor Strange kind of betrays America Chavez. He goes, because this creature is after her and her powers. And it looks like they were not going to be successful in getting that book. So Doctor Strange was going to kill her and take her powers. So the creature after them couldn't get it. But that Doctor Strange ends up getting killed by that creature. And then America Chavez transports herself into the main MCU universe. Because the only way she activates her powers is when she's really scared, because she doesn't have control of it. So when her life was in danger at that moment, her powers kicked in and she was able to go into the main Marvel universe. And so over the course of the first act of the movie, we're trying to figure out who's after Jessica or America Chavez's powers. And Doctor Strange saves her from a really cool sequence in the beginning with Shuma Gorath, the creature who I've only known from the Marvel versus Capcom games and Marvel versus Street Fighter, that green octopus squid monster, who I never really played as much. But
wait, what's that guy's name? Shuma
Gorath.
Oh, wow. Okay, so
you remember, you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Wow, it's true. You really do learn something new every day. For years, Tim, I had no idea. But I'm glad to know now.
But here's the thing, though. I think there's some licensing or rights issue with that actual name, so they couldn't call him Shuma Gorath in the movie. They gave him another name. But it was definitely that same character. It looked exactly like him. It was cool seeing him on the big screen. That was one of the cool action sequences in the movie. I love that. So,
I wonder what the hang up is. You know, like,
yeah.
Wouldn't Marvel own that? Right?
I know. Like, I don't know what. I'm not sure where he's connected with, because you know how obviously Sony still has Spider-Man and Universal still has like the rights to solo Hulk movies. So it's probably some weird tied up licensing issue that makes no sense, but yet somehow they can't say his name or whatever. It's weird.
Right.
So, yes, and the big thing leading up to Doctor Strange is talking to America Chavez, and she's explaining the situation and how she can't really trust this Doctor Strange because the last one she tried working with almost killed her. And so they're having trust issues. And she's asking, do you have any multiverse experience or know about it? And then he references the events of Spider-Man No Way Home. But again, it wasn't anything that set up the sequences in this movie and the events of this movie. It's just kind of was there to show, yeah, Doctor Strange has dabbled in the multiverse a little bit. But obviously we knew Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff, was going to be a big character in this movie.
Hey, Tim. Wait, sorry, I keep interrupting you, but this is how these conversations go.
I'm still not used to that after 10 years of podcasting with you. So rude.
So let me ask before you get to the Scarlet Witch slash Elizabeth Olsen. Is your problem with this Doctor Strange movie what they did with her, with Elizabeth Olsen?
So you are aware of what they did with her in this one?
No.
Okay.
I just saw it on Twitter. Yeah, I just saw it on Twitter,
Okay.
and like I didn't know what happened. Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people are mad, I guess, about what they did to her. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, because I was just about to get into that. And
Mm.
no, that is definitely not a reason why this movie didn't live up to expectations.
Oh,
for me.
really?
Because this was actually one of the surprises in the movie that I thought was really cool and was not expecting. That Scarlet Witch was the villain in this movie. And I thought that was a brilliant move.
I didn't expect that. Yeah,
Neither did I.
That.
Because if you watch the trailers, he's obviously going there for her help. And that's what he does originally. He wants to get her help. And I mean, the trailers show that, they're kind of friendly conversations and all that. But it was just a really cool twist that I didn't see coming. And very early on, too, because they're trying to figure out who's after America Chavez. Someone's summoning these monsters to go after you. And they're trying to figure out who it is. And when it's revealed that, it's actually Wanda herself doing it, it was like, oh, man. Like, I was not expecting that. And going into it, obviously in the trailers, they didn't show who the main villain is. They showed some monsters like Shuma Gorath, but I knew there had to be a central villain that they're going to be facing, or an antagonist in this movie. And the fact that it was Scarlet Witch, I thought was really cool because, man, Elizabeth Olsen, she's such a great actress. I mean, she showed off her chops in WandaVision, showing all the different emotions and characteristics that for the different eras of TV characters that she played. And then just really diving into like the emotional core of Wanda and what she's been through and the loss that she suffered throughout her life. That all came to a full front and culminated into this performance of her being a villain in this movie. She was fantastic and just had a really great presence as being a villain who you were terrified of, because she's fully embraced the persona of the Scarlet Witch that we saw at the end of WandaVision. And so the whole thrust of this movie.
So people are mad that they changed her into a villain?
See, I'm not sure. I haven't seen too much of people being upset, but I know they're out there, so I'm sure. And let me just jump ahead a bit to the very end, because maybe this is what people are mad about. She ends up, I'm going to use air quotes here, killing herself because she realized that the power she's using was dark and evil and didn't want anyone else to use it. And I was kind of feeling guilty for what she did. She ends up killing herself so no one can use this power again. But I don't think she's dead. I mean, come on. It's basically, there's this temple, because there was this book called The Dark Home where she was generating this dark magic power that she was using. And that book got destroyed. So she had to go to the source of this like ancient temple. And it was actually a temple that I guess the previous Scarlet Witch created. So it's like pretty much her, she even calls it her throne. And she destroys that and presumably kills herself. But with her powers that she had, it's going to take a lot more than some crumbling rocks for her to stay dead. So I'm not sure if that's what people are mad about, but if it's because they think she's dead, I don't think that's anything to be upset about, because I highly doubt she's dead.
Come on, guys.
Yeah.
She ain't dead. I mean, unless it's like some big contract dispute, or like, the actor doesn't want to renew their contract or is done with the Marvel movies, she'll be back. Don't worry, Elizabeth Olsen will be back.
Exactly. Yeah. So if that's the reason, I don't think it's anything to worry about. But if is it because of her portrayal, then that's something I just totally would not agree with. Like I said, Elizabeth Olsen did a phenomenal job portraying Wanda in the state that she is in. And what Scarlet Witch has gone kind of as I don't want to say full blown villain, but she has been like an antagonist in certain comic book stories. I mean, just look at House of M, where she went crazy and killed some Avengers and created the whole fake universe of the House of M, where things where Magneto was in control of pretty much the world there, and using her powers to wipe out pretty much the whole mutant population just down at, I believe that number was like 192, if I remember right. It's been a while since I read those, but she has played the role of villain before, so I totally did not think that was out of character. I just think it felt natural for this version of Wanda that we've seen progressed throughout the movies and in her TV show. I just think she's been such a compelling character to watch throughout the course of the MCU, and I thought this was a great culmination of that. But at the same time, a little painful to see because you hate to see her character kind of fall from grace and go full on dark side here. So it was just a really cool twist I didn't see coming, and just played out really nicely. As far as why she became evil, I hadn't even gone to that yet. But Dane, you saw
Charlize. Yeah, sorry, Tim. Let me interrupt you again before. Charlize Theron is in this movie.
Yeah, I'll get to that later.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
totally
Sorry.
different.
Sorry. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
So you saw all of WandaVision, right?
No, I
You
haven't.
didn't. Okay.
No, I am not a fan of of these Marvel movies as much as the you, Tim, people like you. I just couldn't make it through the third episode. I want to say third episode. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't finish it. Yeah.
Because I don't know if you remember what happened at the end, because she created this false family for herself with her kids.
Right. That was sort of like the big overarching storyline, right?
Yeah, and then when she kind of had to release everyone from her powers that she was holding everyone in Westview captive, and just the fake illusions that she created of Vision and also of her two children obviously was a very traumatic experience for her, because they weren't real and they had to just go away when she released everyone from being in that town. And so that was the crux of this movie, where she felt so lost, so just having to suffer another loss again, losing her parents, losing her brother Pietro, aka Quicksilver, losing Vision, and now her children, even though they weren't real, they were real to her. And so the whole reason that it's revealed she was the one after America Chavez is because she wants to take her power to go through different multiverses and to be with her children, because she has seen other universes and sees that her kids are real in these different multiverses, and hers is the only one that doesn't have her children. And that's just kind of, I think, pushes her over the deep end, or at least plays a part of that. And just the corruption of reading that Darkholme book is kind of what really made her turn evil here. And that's what she wants. She wants to go to a multiverse and kind of take control of get rid of the Wanda in that universe and take control over being the main Wanda Maximoff in another universe, to be with their kids. So it's pretty much her motivation is just wanting to be a mother and having that experience and love for her children. It was just too much for her to lose, and she wants to get that back, and that pushes her toward the dark side. And then it leads to her attacking I can't remember, Tal Mahaj, I believe, the location of where all the other sorcerers and the masters of the mystic arts, their whole location, where they have to make this one final stand against Wanda. She tries to be, in her exact words, be reasonable with Doctor Strange to hand over America Chavez and let her do her thing, but he wasn't just going to give her up that easily, and that leads to her attacking their fortress and just wiping a lot of them out, and eventually causing Doctor Strange and America Chavez to go into another universe to hide from Wanda. And that takes them into, like I said, that one other alternate universe, which was the main spot of being in a different universe in this movie. And one thing too, which I thought was a cool concept, and I'm not sure if Doctor Strange probably isn't the first one to talk about or have this concept be in this universe, but the idea of the dreams you have of seeing yourself in different scenarios and circumstances, you're actually peeking into a different universe of yourself. I just think that was a cool concept, because Doctor Strange wakes up from a dream of what we saw in the very beginning of this other Doctor Strange trying to kill America Chavez. You see Doctor Strange wake up from that, and he associates it with a dream, but in fact, he's just looking into another universe with himself. And just the idea that whenever we dream, we're actually seeing ourselves in another universe. It's such a cool concept. And then Scarlet Witch takes that into advantage, where she uses this technique called dream walking, where she's able to possess her other self in another universe and take control of herself's body that way. And still pursue America Chavez as a Doctor Strange in this other universe. And that's what takes us to the big geek out moment of this movie, where they showed a little bit of the trailers and the commercials about Doctor Strange is going to see the Illuminati, and they teased the voice of Patrick Stewart, so we knew Professor X was going to be in this. But what else I was excited about was just knowing who else was going to be, or I should say not knowing who was going to be part of the Illuminati. Because I know several members from the comics, and they contain members who do not, or who have not showed up in the MCU just yet. So I was wondering, are we going to get some big surprises here? And it did not disappoint. So this is where like the big surprise spoiler stuff comes in, where you don't want to find out until you see the movie. And so because they take Doctor Strange captive because they feel he's a bigger threat than Scarlet Witch is for what their version of Doctor Strange had done. So we get Baron Mordo, who is pretty much as Doctor Strange, one of his main antagonists besides Dormammu in the comics, and he was his training, or the one who trained him in the first Doctor Strange movie, but left the Order. But in this universe, he's the head, he's the Sorcerer Supreme, and a member of the Illuminati. And so when we get the reveal of the other members, first is Captain Carter, as you mentioned, Dane. And I found out after I saw the movie. Yeah.
Really? I just guessed.
Really?
Because I guessed. Yeah.
I
had no idea.
I thought it was because you saw the commercials, because that was one of the reveals they gave throughout, which is disappointing because they should have saved all that stuff. I mean, Professor X was a big tease in itself. So I was kind of disappointed to learn after the fact that, man, they actually showed her in the commercials. That's kind of a big spoiler that you want to save for the movie. That's how I thought you knew about it.
No. I had no idea. Zero idea. I just picked a character that I thought wouldn't be in the movie. So let me guess, Dan. Let me guess.
Okay, yes, let's hear it.
So you said Patrick Stewart's in it.
Mm-hmm.
I know Hugh Jackman is not in this movie.
No, but I was kind of hoping that maybe he would show up, but no, sadly, no Hugh Jackman.
Another X-Man. Okay. Don't say anything. I'm going to say Cyclops is in it. And I'm also going to say... Let's see. Okay. One of the Fantastic Four guys. And one of the guys from those X-Men films that are not part of the trilogy. So yeah, that's gonna be my stuff. My choices.
Well, you got one of them right.
Really? Which one?
Yeah.
The X-Men?
No, Professor X was the only X-Men.
Okay. So Fantastic Four then.
Yep. And that's got probably the biggest cheer in my theater.
Really?
Yes.
Was it from that Fantastic Four movie?
No, it was Mr. Fantastic.
Okay.
Played by John Krasinski.
What?
Yeah.
When was he Mr. Fantastic?
Just now.
Or did I miss something? Really?
Yeah.
They cast it in for a new set of movies or something?
That's the thing. I don't know. This was a total shock. They kept it a secret, a big surprise, because he's been like the top list of many fan casts online. Like I think so many people want him to play Mr. Fantastic. So
Mr. Fantastic. Yeah.
It was kind of a nod to the fans to say, okay, like we'll give this one to you.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't expect that. I was thinking about the old movies, but I couldn't remember who was Mr. Fantastic in those old movies, and that 2000 whatever movie, and I couldn't remember who was Mr. Fantastic in that one. Wow, John Krasinski. Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it was cool. Like, I thought he did a really good job as playing Mr. Fantastic. He really had that Reed Richards persona. I think he pulled it out very nicely. He had a cool costume, a cool updated Fantastic Four costume, that looked classic but yet modern for a movie. So it was just really cool. And just finally seeing Reed Richards in an MCU in some capacity was just great. So that was a really cool surprise. I'm glad I didn't get spoiled on that. But
Oh,
see, I'm not
Tim,
sure if he's
Tim,
going to be.
before, yeah,
I'm not sure if he's going to be the
Yeah.
new Reed Richards for the next Fantastic Four movie, because we know they are making a Fantastic Four movie, but it could be someone totally different because it is a different universe, and we know that not every character in the multiverse looks the same. Just look at the 3 different Spider-Mans in No Way Home. So we could totally get a new different Reed Richards. But if it is going to be John Krasinski, who's going to be Reed Richards in the MCU, I'm totally down for that after seeing him in this movie. I thought he did a great job for the little bit of time that he was in it.
I am going to guess again.
I don't think you're going to get anyone
Tim.
else. I'll be shocked if
I've-
you get the next ones who showed up.
Hey, I've been on a roll, Tim.
You got 2. Yeah, you got 2 of them.
Because I just remembered the Marvel shows,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm not talking about the ones on Disney Plus.
Okay.
I'm talking about the ones that they had on regular TV.
Okay.
And I am going to say one of those people that I do not know anything about. I haven't watched those shows. It's might be no, because Peggy Carter's in it. I was gonna say her granddaughter. What's her name?
Oh God, what's your name? I know her like a quote unquote superhero names like Agent 47, but
yeah,
I'm not blanking on her name now.
The blonde one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not gonna be her because she's related to Peggy Carter. We already have a Peggy Carter in this. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the Marvel TV shows. So I'm gonna say just in general somebody from the Marvel TV shows because we got to get that connected to the MCU.
Well, you know what, Dane? I'm going to give you a point for that one because
boom,
technically you're right.
I got it. Wow, I am good at this. I am really good at this. 3 for 3, I'd say. You know, I'm batting 1. 1-0.
So yeah, that character, the other big one that we got was Black Bolt from the Inhumans, and
no idea who that is.
Yeah, do you remember the Inhumans TV show that everybody panned and said it was like the worst, like one of the worst Marvel productions ever? The MCU didn't do it. It wasn't Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
It was ABC. So technically it wasn't the MCU, but they tried to have it be connected to the MCU. But the reason I'm going to give you the point, Dane, is because I think the same actor who played Black Bolt in that series, they had him do it in the movie too. But he looked
I see.
so much better because he was actually wearing his comic book costume, which looked cool seeing that on screen. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Black Bolt's powers.
No idea. No idea. Yeah.
Pretty much, Black Bolt, he can't talk because even the slightest whisper can cause massive destruction and just kill you in an instant. It just disintegrates.
Really?
It's like this wave of energy that just disintegrates you. So that's why he never speaks.
So it's pretty much like Cyclops with his voice box.
I guess you can make that.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was cool to see him because he was a member of the Illuminati in the comics. So I was glad they had him included in here.
The only reason why I know about the Inhumans, do you know the reason why I know about Inhumans?
Is it because of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Because they played a role in that?
No. So it was shot in Hawaii.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, and I just so happened to work across the lane from I don't know if they get every movie and TV job, but they definitely do a lot. It's a lighting company. They set up the stage lighting for like concerts and stuff and TV shows and movies like that. That's how I knew they were making a new Jurassic Park movie, was because they had the crew shirts on before anything was announced. And I've seen the crew shirts for Inhumans and that's how I knew about
Gotcha.
the Inhuman show. That's the only I have zero idea what the Inhumans are, or the TV show, but I know because I saw it on the crew shirt on the back of the T-shirt. That's the only reason why I know what that is.
That's probably for the best, not from the TV
Yeah.
show, because like I said, it was awful. I only watched the first two
Wow.
episodes, and I did not get into it. It felt
Wow,
cheap.
that bad,
yeah.
huh?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But cool to see him here in the movie.
Also, that's why I knew they were making another Aquaman, or they had started filming another Aquaman, because I saw the crew shirt.
Dane doesn't get his movie news from the internet. He just gets it from where they're filming in
Going
Hawaii.
outside. I just go outside of my work.
I just look out the window. Yeah.
But
So,
yeah.
and then
Anyway.
the final member of the Illuminati was a different Captain Marvel. And this was the Maria Rambeau version of Captain Marvel. And she was Carol Danvers'
Who's
friend.
that? Oh,
Did you see Captain Marvel?
yeah.
Okay.
Lashana Lynch.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh wow. She's Captain Marvel now in this
Yep.
movie.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which was cool. Yeah. So they all, are trying to vote what they're going to do about Doctor Strange. Oh, I got to say this before. When Patrick Stewart made his entrance as Professor Xavier, it was so awesome to see him in the classic comic accurate, even animated series accurate costume
Really?
of just like a green suit and a classic iconic yellow hover chair. It
Oh
looked
yeah.
awesome
That's what I
seeing
was gonna
that.
ask.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask you. Did he have his yellow wheelchair?
Yes, he did.
Oh, the coolest design thing in the Marvel universe.
It looked great seeing it on screen. But to top it
Yeah.
off, Dane, know what made it even more awesome? When he
What
was
was
making
it?
his entrance, they played the 90s animated series theme song as he
Really?
was making his entrance. Yeah, it was awesome.
Now I gotta see this movie.
Like I said, this is the highlight of the movie. It really was.
I gotta see that one scene now. You've definitely given me incentive just for that one scene to just to see the yellow wheelchair
Yeah.
and the music.
Hear that music. Oh, it was so good.
Yeah.
It was glorious. So yeah, as they're trying to decide what they want to do with this Doctor Strange, Wanda ends up attacking their headquarters. And so Captain Marvel, Captain Carter, Reed Richards, they go out, and Black Bolt go to confront Wanda. And she pretty much just takes them out pretty easily, or at least two members. Reed Richards just saying, Black Bolt, he could take you out by whispering with his mouth. And then Wanda goes, "What mouth?" And you see Black Bolt, and he has, like, his lips are gone. His whole mouth is gone. He can't talk. And then all of a sudden you see his head explode. And he just falls dead. And then she takes out Reed Richards by just disintegrating his body and stretching it out a bit. And he's gone. And then she has a pretty cool fight sequence with Captain Carter and Captain Marvel, which was pretty cool to see them duke it out. And then even Peggy Carter got to say the iconic Captain America line, "I can do this all day," which is cool to hear. But eventually Wanda's powers are just too much for them to handle, and she takes them out as well. But then it was also cool. We got to see a classic Charles Xavier mind battle where he enters Wanda's mind, trying to free that universe's Wanda, whose body she's taken over. But again, Wanda's power proves too much for Xavier. You just see kind of his head snap and he dies. I mean, it was sucks seeing all these characters die, but at the same time, you kind of know why they did it. It's another universe. We don't know if these actors playing these characters are going to have a big role in the main MCU universe. So if this is their only appearance in a different universe, I guess that's why they felt they could take him out. But it's like disappointing to see, but also it made sense at the same time. But one thing I was kind of hoping for, and this is mainly just a fanboy nitpick, where knowing this Charles Xavier in this universe, I was kind of hoping he'd recognize Wanda, or at least kind of mention that this universe is Wanda, that her father is Magneto, and just kind of establish, like, because he was trying to, and when they were in that mind realm, he's trying to free that universe's Wanda from being trapped in rubble, and just kind of make mention of her father as Magneto being her father. Like, I don't know what he would say, but maybe something like, "Let me help you. You could trust me over your father," or "I'm a friend of your father." Now, something like that. But just to have a little wink in this universe, Wanda is the daughter of Magneto here, because that's how I always remember and view the character, her and PHO being the son and daughter of Magneto. But we didn't get that. Again, that's just a little fanboy nitpick, but it would have been a cool opportunity to see that. So yeah, that was definitely the highlight of the movie. It was just geek out moment after geek out moment, seeing these characters be established in the MCU, albeit in a different universe, but still seeing characters like Reed Richards and Charles Xavier interact with other Marvel characters that we never got to see before was just such a trip. And it just makes me real excited to see when they actually join the MCU, knowing just what a great job Marvel Studios have done with them just in this quick sequence, with their costumes and their look as being stuff we haven't got, especially in the case of Charles Xavier, like I said, nailing the look of how he did in the animated series and in the comics. It was just great to see. So that was awesome. And this is kind of where I feel the movie loses me a little bit, where the final, I guess, battle action sequence is a little anticlimactic for me. Because, like I said, this was a highlight here. And this is where I felt I wish it dived more into Multiverse of Madness instead of, because this is where it goes into full blown like horror realm like genre for the sequence. And I'm not a big horror guy at all, so it wasn't really my cup of tea. Definitely, I know that's kind of Sam Raimi's wheelhouse, and because he's in the horror movies he's done in the past, so I was kind of expecting that, but it's still not my favorite aspect of it. And they kind of went full blown with it as Doctor Strange confronts another version of himself who gets taken over or kind of becomes corrupted by the same book Wanda is using, the Darkhold, in this universe. And he has oh, I gotta mention this. This might have been one of the most ridiculous moments in the movie. Doctor Strange has a musical battle with himself, with his evil self here. It was like at the same time awesome, like ridiculous, stupid, and awesome at the same time. Because
so he's fighting with like a guitar.
No, here's what happens. He's facing his dark self, who's been corrupted by that book. They're having a battle. You think it's just going to be a battle with their magical powers, but Doctor Strange gets like, he hits a piano. I guess was his magical energy hits the piano keys, and you see the actual musical notes come out as like magical energy.
Okay.
And he's like flings them at the evil Doctor Strange, and it's making the musical notes. And then that other Doctor Strange uses drum beat notes to hit, and Doctor Strange makes like a musical notebook that catches the notes, and they make the actual sound. I like to think this scene was directed by Danny Elfman himself, because I know he did the music in this movie. It was just weird. It's strangely stupid and awesome at the same time.
Okay. So
yeah.
he's fighting with musical notes.
Yeah. It was like, I was not expecting that.
Wow,
So our
okay.
universe, Doctor Strange, Wanda ends up getting her hand on America Chavez, and she's going to take her powers. So Doctor Strange has to get back to the main MCU universe, and he has to do what Wanda was doing, using that forbidden technique, dream walking, take possession of another universe's Doctor Strange's body. But what happens is the Doctor Strange that got killed in the very beginning, that his body got transported to the MCU universe. So Doctor Strange and Wong, they buried it, just leaving it in that main universe. So that's the only body Doctor Strange has to take over in order to have access and save America Chavez in his universe. So he pretty much becomes zombie Doctor Strange, and you just see this zombie version of him walking around, and then like these spirits and souls he takes control of to form his cape and to give him his abilities. And that's where it goes on full blown horror mode and just like these scary visuals and all that stuff. Again, not my cup of tea, so it wasn't my favorite action sequence. Wasn't a big fan of it, but I did like how the whole thing with Wanda got resolved. And that is America Chavez. She harnesses her power, and she's able to control it. And she's trying to teleport or send Wanda and trap her in another universe. But Wanda's too strong for her. So she goes, instead of trying to defeat you, I'm going to give you exactly what you want. And she takes her to a universe where they're kids. But she's in full-blown Scarlet Witch mode with her costume. So when the kids see her, they freak out. And they just like, no, like, you're not our mom. You're just a witch. And you see Wanda hurt that universe's Wanda. And the kids are just freaking out, like, you hurt our mom. Like, you're just evil. You're a witch. And that just sends shockwaves to our universe's Wanda and just realizes what she's done and everything she's trying to achieve to be a loving mother for her kids and have her kids love her. She can't do. She can't have that, by the way, by how far she's fallen in becoming this villain. And so that just makes her realize she has to do away with this power and not do what she set out to do. And there's kind of a nice moment with her and that universe's Wanda. That other universe's Wanda tells her that, just know that these children will be loved, even though you'll never get to kind of experience that. And Wanda just again closes, or I guess America Chavez closes the portal to that universe, and Wanda just returns to the main NCU universe, and that's where she not sacrifices herself, but kills herself and destroys that dark power, so no one else can use it again. But again, I don't think she's dead. So that's kind of where the movie ends. Doctor Strange gets back. America Chavez takes Doctor Strange back into the main MCU universe, and she ends up training with him. And then the movie ends with this whole thing where like the corruption of using that dark home, that evil Doctor Strange got like a third eye, and that ends up happening to the main Doctor Strange too. I'm not sure what that power is going to be. I think it's something that he has in the comics, but I'm not 100% sure. So that's where the movie ends, with him like that third eye popping out of his forehead. So, yeah, that's where my disappointment with the movie comes in, is that there was no like big consequence with the traveling the multiverse. It was just kind of one big cool fanboy moment, not really much else. And I really loved that, but I was in a movie called The Multiverse of Madness. I was hoping there'd be more of an impact that going through the multiverse would have on the main MCU, and just having it really be a cool, awesome, like trippy final battle throughout the multiverse. Like it's just a battle where they go through different multiverses at the same time, and maybe have quick appearances by different versions of these different Marvel characters. That would have made for a really, in my opinion, a better final action sequence than the horror one that we got in this movie. So I just didn't think it lived up to its Multiverse of Madness potential when you think of that title, because I would have loved it if it was like a multiverse hopping type movie where they spend a little bit of time in different universes and then they kind of all come together for one big battle. But we really didn't get that. But at the core, I really did like what they did with the character of Wanda and just kind of the progression of her story, and even Doctor Strange too. He had a good relationship between him and America Chavez, just seeing them become trust each other, and then also kind of him accepting where he is in life, because he's kind of lamenting as far as losing the love of his life, not being there for her. She ends up marrying someone else, and yet he has to work with a different version of her in the multiverse, and just kind of coming to terms to where he's at in his life and if he's happy or not. So some good character beats for him as well. But so yeah, a lot of cool stuff mixed in with some disappointment that I have kind of towards the end. I just felt the high point is when we get to that Illuminati moment, and it just kind of just doesn't quite get any better than that. It kind of takes a dip down, in my opinion. So yeah, and then you mentioned Charlize Theron, and she just shows up in the end credit scene, and I forget her character's name, because I'm not too familiar with. I haven't read too many Doctor Strange comics. I believe her name's Elika. I got to double check on that, but
I'll look it up for you.
But if she was in
Clea,
that's what I don't know. I was thinking of Elika, but Clea is the name, but totally off. So she just comes out of another universe, the Dark Dimension, which is the main villain in the first Doctor Strange movie, Dormammu. That's where his realm is. So she comes from there, and I found out that she is actually the niece of Dormammu. And I know her and Doctor Strange like have a relationship in the comics. So she just kind of comes and recruits Doctor Strange to help her. I can't remember exactly what she says, but just basically like, do you want to help me come into the Dark Dimension and, stop whatever's happening? He's like, sure. And they just go into that portal, into that Dark Dimension. So setting up Doctor Strange 3. So yeah, I wasn't too familiar with her character. I kind of knew who it was when she showed up, but like knowing of that character, but not knowing too much about what her role is going to be moving forward. So not the greatest end credit or mid credit scene, but I guess one, if you're a big fan of the Doctor Strange world, would get you excited for what's to come. So yeah, I guess if I were to rate it, I would give it probably a 3 out of 5. Like I said, a lot of cool stuff and geek out moments mixed in with some disappointment where I felt they could have gone in other directions when over the course towards the end of the movie.
So you've talked about all of these geek things or whatever, right, Tim?
Mm.
One thing you didn't talk about is Benedict Cumberbatch's accent, American accent. Is he still like just flattening it out, sort of like this, or is he like does he add a little character to it?
I think he does. Yeah, I never really had a problem with his
Uh.
accent, American accent, but I don't know. I really did enjoy his performance of this.
Yeah.
So I never really had a problem with him. So I can't say one way or another if it's like got any better, or because it was always been fine to me. So I wouldn't say it's
I
like
see.
really different, like because I really didn't notice much of a difference. But
Yeah.
it's that in certain ways where he talked to certain characters. So, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll let you be the judge of that one when you see it.
I mean, an actor who's famously British, right?
Uh-huh.
Benedict Cumberbatch. That doesn't sound American.
But
Just make him British, I don't know.
definitely wasn't one of my issues with the movie.
Yeah. I didn't know Benedict Wong was British before
Yeah, neither did I.
these movies.
He's always a fun character too. He doesn't have a big role, but he's always fun when he's on
Yeah.
screen. I love their dynamic that they have.
They should make a TV show with him.
I've heard a lot of people say that, and I
Yeah.
would agree.
I mean, they're doing this multiverse thing now with Spider-Man, with Doctor Strange. Let's just do a. Is his name Wong in that?
Yeah.
It- Yeah. So just make a TV show called Wong, and that's his show.
Yeah, I'd watch it.
Now, Tim, let me ask you. This is a question I've been wanting to ask you for a while, ever since the show premiered. Should I start watching Moon Knight, or should I hold off on it, or should I not watch it? Because is it a thing where you gotta be familiar with the Moon Knight guy and you gotta know like the Marvel movie sort of thing, or can I just go in cold?
You should definitely watch Moon Knight for
Okay.
the reasons you mentioned. Number one, do you have to know anything about Moon Knight? No, you don't, because I've never read a Moon Knight comic. I always known of the characters. I read comics where he's in it. He's in video games. So I know the basic premise of the character, but I never read any of his like solo comics. And I got sucked into the series. And the second reason you mentioned, if you have to know the Marvel Universe, this is probably the only show that has pretty much no connection at all to the MCU. There's like no references to anything that happens
Wow.
anywhere else, which actually
Okay.
surprised me.
Okay, this is sounding better. Because
And I really dug it. Oscar Isaac gives a great performance. It's different.
Yeah.
It's really great. The only thing, I just didn't think the finale stuck the landing. But it didn't. But it doesn't hurt the overall enjoyment of the show. I thought it was great. It's probably my third favorite of the Disney Plus Marvel shows. I really, really dug it.
Okay. Yeah. Because it's just one of those things like I gotta ask you before before I decide to watch it, so that I don't go into the show with being confused or whatever.
Well, you probably will be confused in the first episode, but it's by design. They're just trying to set up the premise of the show, and it will be a little confusing as you're watching it.
Okay. Yeah, because I was gonna say, that was my problem with WandaVision.
Mhm.
Like I had no idea what was going on. So
I highly recommend it. I liked it a lot.
Final question about Moon Knight. Does Oscar Isaac pilot a spaceship?
No, he doesn't.
Oh God.
Sad to say.
He, as an actor, he is one of the greatest fake spaceship piloting guys. I'd say. I I really want him to just do movies where he pilots spaceships because he's so good at it.
Well, there was Star Wars and then Dune, obviously. Just
Yeah.
main two. What were the other ones where he flight a spaceship?
Those are the only two.
Okay, that's all you need.
That's
then.
all you need. Yeah. That's all you need. So, you know, as much as you praised Moon Knight just now, it's another mark against it.
Well, maybe you won't enjoy it as much, but well, he does fly in other ways. I'll say that.
Okay, good. Good. Anyway, yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
I just had to ask you about the Moon Knight because
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, that's my review of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And so with that, we can get into our other big review, which is one I've been dying to talk about since it came out, and I know Dane's going to be in the same boat, and that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin, issue 5, the final issue of what's been an amazing TMNT event comic series. And you heard us review every issue and just how excited we were for the ending of this one, and it's finally here. But Dane, did it live up to the hype? We shall see.
Yeah.
Gonna keep you in suspense, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but we got to have a rating scale for this one. We're reviewing a comic, 10-year anniversary from our first episode where we talked about our rating scale on that one. What should this one be, you think?
Musical notes that Doctor Strange fought Doctor Strange with.
I like it because it's so ridiculous as much as it is in the movie, and also how our first one was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
I like it. All right. TMNT, The Last Ronin, issue 5. Dane, I want to let you go first on this one because I want to save my thoughts for last.
Okay.
Plus, I just talked a lot too with Doctor Strange. I need a breather.
I don't know. You had me scared there, Tim. I was like, did Tim not like it as much as I did? Or
I don't know.
now you're keeping me in suspense. Yeah, what a great comic. What a great comic series. They to use your turn of phrase, Tim, they stuck the landing at the end. Let's just have a big giant fight scene where one guy fights the other guy, or the good guy fights the bad guy, and let's have that be the comic. And let's just spice it up a little bit with everything that was going on with Casey Jr. I thought I loved it in the beginning, and I knew I really, really loved it by the end. That dream sequence at the end, or what do you call that, Tim?
Yeah, I call it more just the afterlife, really. A journey into the afterlife. Yeah.
Right, the afterlife. That afterlife sequence at the end was it was the perfect ending for the Barrage Eastman Laird storyline. It's the perfect way to end it, where the turtles are just the turtles. They're joking around. They're on a rooftop with Casey. It was perfect, and just everything leading up to that, where you see, I'm like you, Tim. I forget the bad guy's name, Karai's son's name, Hiroto.
Oroku Hiroto.
Yeah, Roku Hiroto. Everything leading up to that, and seeing their battle, seeing how Mikey set up everything beforehand with all the explosions, and seeing them fight on the top of a skyscraper, falling to the ground, fighting in midair before they hit the ground. And they hit the ground, they're fighting and fighting and fighting, and then they get into like it looks like a drainage ditch or something, and they're fighting there, and then Mikey gets the upper hand, and it's so simple. Like it's so it's crazy how simple it is. Let's just have the two guys fight, and then they both die at the end. You know, like it's so simple and it's so perfect. And to add that sort of that afterlife sequence at the end with all the turtles on the rooftop, it was such the perfect ending to uh you know what, I'm gonna say it, the perfect storyline, the perfect storyline for the end of the Ninja Turtles, for the end of any comic book series, really. So yeah, that's my initial thoughts on it.
Yeah, I am gonna agree with everything you said and then some. This is a special comic series. It had everything, and um, I just want to get to the main aspect of the issue why I loved it so much. I mean, it moved me in an emotional way that no other comic has done, and I wasn't expecting, to be honest. There's only one other comic that kind of got me a little choked up as I was reading it. That was Superman Earth 1 Volume 2. There's like such a great touching moment with Superman and his pet cat, how he saved the cat as a kitten being attacked by raccoons, and his other, like his mother and his other kid, like litter got killed, but Superman saved that last one. And it grew up with Superman as a teenager throughout his life, and just how Superman took the cat the cat died of old age and took it to the moon. And that was like their special spot, and Superman buried this cat on the moon. And just the visuals and the artwork was so great, and that got me choked up being an animal lover, a cat owner. But that was the only comic where it kind of like actually got me like not necessarily crying, but choked up a bit. But this issue, I was not expecting it. But when we got to that afterlife dream sequence, it makes like, Mikey died from his fight with Hiroku, or Oroku Hiroto. But then you see his eyes. There's like a black page, like panel page. You see his eyes open. You see the turtles there, and he's with his brothers reunited. Man, it just, for whatever reasons, like mental emotional state I was in during that time, that as I was reading that issue. But man, it just hit me as far as words. I actually had, my eyes were getting watery, almost had tears coming out of my eyes. That's never happened to me reading a comic book before. Just, if you read, I mean, even just explaining to it, if you haven't read the issues, you might not understand why it hit me that hard. But just knowing, this is just the brilliance of the storytelling throughout the 5 issues, is what makes this moment so emotional, is reading the 5 issues and what Mikey's dealing with mentally with his brothers who are dead, but they are still with him as like those, in his mind, as like those spirits kind of arguing and fighting with him still, like especially in the beginning of this issue where they're just flat out arguing, like in a verbal fight with Mikey and how he should handle this final fight, and the words that Raphael says to him, like hurtful things that sometimes can happen with close family members. And this Mikey just screams this, I want you guys gone forever, like I don't want to talk to you ever again, type thing, because it's, in a sense, he's fighting with his brothers but as well as himself, because it's all in his head. It was just, that was such a powerful story beat, brilliant one too, throughout the course of these 5 issues. Those conversations Mikey would have with his brothers in his mind, just what type of state he was in, and just how dark things got, and Mikey making the ultimate sacrifice as being the last turtle to go down in battle, and to seeing them all reunited was just such a beautiful, impactful moment that, like I said, hit me in a way I was not expecting, and I think just shows the brilliance of this storytelling. And I just loved how it shows the strong brotherhood and sense of family that the turtles have, and what makes any great turtle story so good, and that's why I love the franchise so much. And something I don't think a lot of people recognize of what makes the Turtles franchise so special isn't just a bunch of Ninja Turtles fighting cool fights who love pizza and make wisecracking jokes. No, it's that real emotional core that the Turtles have with each other and as a family with the other characters like Splinter and Casey, and knowing that they're all dead now and under such terrible circumstances of betrayal of how they got killed, and this the struggle Mikey had to see them all reunited and just kind of in this afterlife back in New York, where things are back to normal, like cracking jokes, making fun of each other, and this Mikey just saying those final lines like "I'm home" or like "It's good to be home" or "It smells like home." That's what it was, and it was just it just hit you right in the feels. It was just so well done. I just cannot think of a better way, as you said, Dane, having a perfect ending to this story was just so amazing. And
Not only that, like I think it's also because it is Mikey, right? And
exactly,
like
yeah,
you sort of have this image of Mikey, like the TMNT 2012 show, right?
yep, the goofball,
The goofball, right? The guy that doesn't take anything seriously, and he's always cracking jokes and being like this eternal optimist character, right? And then you have him here, and it's a totally different Mikey, and it's a Mikey that's seen a lot of things, and overall this it's one hit after another and it's so bad and it's so dark, I guess you could say. And at the end, you have this one sort of scene that is like a ray of sunlight,
Yeah.
that's like, oh my God, finally,
Yep.
You see all the turtles die, you see Splinter die, you see Casey die, and then like, and then you have this futuristic storyline, the current time storyline, where like everything is oppressed, and you see April living underground, and you see Casey Jr. sort of like running this resistance cell, I guess you could say, resistance group, and like it's so dark and it's so bad and it's so depressing. And then you have this one scene at the end, and it's like, oh my God, thank you, thank you for this. And
Mhm.
it's a total relief, including probably the saddest moment, which is Mikey's death scene at the end, where he knows he's not going to make it, and he gifts Splinter's book to Casey Jr., and she's going to use that and do whatever with it. And it's like it's a bright future, and it's a bright future for that now storyline, and to have that afterlife storyline combined with it, it's like it was so perfect.
Yeah, so brilliantly done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it right there with this. It makes it so emotional is that it's Mikey, like knowing,
Yeah.
like you said, always like he's the heart of the turtle group, and I think especially in the IDW series. I know that's not necessarily in that continuity, but you just see how important he is to like being the heart amongst the turtles and their brothers, and to see him go down that kind of more dark path, that Ronin path in the story, and to see what he had to become. And then just to see him reunited and like happy again, it was just like at the same time the perfect sad and happy ending all into one type scenario. And it was just like we mentioned, so beautifully done. I
Yeah.
was not expecting that. That's what made it so impactful. And while reading it, it just really hit me. It just that sense of brotherhood and family is like you just can't help but sometimes get emotional when you read stories like that are told as well as this one was. And I can't wait. I'm gonna wait for the trade to come out. I'm gonna get the physical copy definitely. And I just can't
Yeah.
wait to read the whole series all together in one sitting because I think that's just going to be such a great experience reading the story that way all in one. And I think it's going to be even more impactful when you read it all together as one long story.
I I still remember reading that first issue and being like, yeah, this is Raph. Raph is the one that survived, of course. And then being surprised, like, oh my God, it's Mikey. Oh my God, because I just started watching the the animated series. So yeah.
Yeah, that just makes you think, man, what the heck happened to make him be like
Yeah.
this and go down the path? And
And then you
it,
find out.
yeah,
And really find out. And
you
it's like,
definitely
oh
understand
my God.
why.
Like I said, one hit after another,
Yeah.
after another, after another. But yeah, it really was the perfect ending.
Yeah, I love in the fight too how he paid homage to every other turtle with attacking Oroku Hirota with each one of their weapons, landing like a
Oh
crucial
yeah.
blow to him with each of the turtles' weapons, and then finally going to the old reliable, the nunchucks, his weapons of choice, to kind of really take it to Hiroto there. It was just, again, a cool fight sequence, but it still packs those emotional story beats that you were hoping for too, not this cool flashy action sequence, but knowing that Mikey, this was so important to him to honor his family this one last time and get justice for them as the last member of the Hamato family, and just seeing him take him down with the weapons of his brothers, which is such an awesome touch as well. I love that. That's probably my favorite aspect of a very long fight that they had with each other. And
Also also the art has been amazing
yeah,
on
consistent.
these books.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
And did uh who did the afterlife sequence?
you're putting me on the spot right here, Dave.
Yeah.
Not 100% remembering.
Was that Eastman? That had to have been.
That's not really a style, though.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, sorry, we can't remember
Yeah.
the artist's name is doing that, but just know that your work was appreciated. And so worth the wait of the delays. I know it took forever for this final issue to come out, but it was worth it without question. Would rather wait a little bit longer and to have pretty much a masterpiece TMNT story, both in how it was written, how it was drawn. Like, it was so worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. I like how everyone on Twitter was like, yeah, it's really, really coming out. You know, like all of the creative team.
Yeah, like, you could tell they're proud of it and have every right to be. And you can't not talk about the epilogue sequence in it too, because that sets up some pretty big things.
Yeah.
It's Casey and April. You kind of think they're the only ones, but we later find out, because we know that there's been hints by Tom Waltz, Kevin Eastman, and IDW how there might be more stories coming set in this universe. And I was thinking, oh, is it going to be, that kind of made me think too, oh, Mikey might be surviving this story. And that's why I wasn't sure. Like, when he did die, I was like, oh man, so it was still kind of a surprise when that happened. But the reason why it looks like these stories set in this universe might be continuing is that we see it's like this makeshift turtle bowl hooked up to the machine that looks that has connections to the ooze, and there's 4 baby turtles in there. And Casey's kind of saying, like, come on, like, hurry up, like, how much longer is it going to take for them to grow? And it looks like they're trying to not necessarily create new, or maybe they are, we don't know, like new Leonardo's, Donatello's, Michelangelo's, and Raphael's, but just new mutant turtles for them to, I guess, be part of their family that they kind of have to start again. So that was definitely a surprise. I wasn't expecting how they're trying to continue the Ninja Turtles legacy by creating 4 more turtles. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. But I'm glad it definitely doesn't look like this is the very last story we're going to set in this universe. It's probably the last story of the original Turtles in this continuity, but I'm excited for whatever's to come, basing just, what an amazing job everyone involved did with this series. So I'm so glad it's more stories. They want to continue in this universe with more stories.
I wonder if they're gonna. I wonder if they're gonna make another Splinter too.
I know. Are they just going to limit
put
it
a
to the
rat
turtle?
in there.
So they're really
Yeah.
going to try to create the whole family? I know that just
Another Hob.
a Hob who's actually good, who doesn't have the tragic background that he had.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just makes me wonder, like, what's their motivation behind all this? Is it just, wanting to honor the Turtles' legacy, to still continue that family? It's going to be interesting to see the direction they're going to go with this.
I mean, of course, they're gonna make another book, I guess you could say, of these futuristic turtles. I think that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna make a futuristic turtle book.
I think so. Yeah, we might get like a new ongoing. Yeah, I just I pulled up the issue on my iPad right now. I just wanted to remember what was actually that final page. Yeah, it's like they're in a a clear sphere, a little turtle aquarium, and they are hooked up to a machine that has a TCRI canister in there. So yeah, you can do the math. And just Casey Junior teacher says, hurry and grow up already. I got so much cool stuff to teach you. So it looks like she wants to be, the master to these new turtle students once they eventually grow up, taking what she learned from Mikey and Splinter's journal. So, I mean, that's just going to be awesome to see play out as well. So a lot of potential here in this universe, even though it was an ending, but there's definitely, like I said, more great stories to tell, I think, in this universe.
Yeah, which brings us to the ongoing. It's like, okay, so like the Last Ronin is done. So like you said there was going to be something big with the ongoing with Sophie Campbell. So what's that going to be?
I know, because actually, as we're recording this, is that free comic book day issue that's supposed to kind of set up the next big event.
Yeah.
The Armageddon event, and I definitely got to read that to get me more excited for this. So who knows if it's going to have maybe some connections to this or whatnot.
Yeah.
But man, as I'm just flipping through the pages again, it's hitting me all over again just looking at it. I mean, just even April's reaction to Mikey's death, as she just says, "Goodbye, my sweet friend," and the reaction on her face, and you see Mikey's body just standing there, how tragic it is seeing his dead body like that. But then the next page, you see like the flat line on that machine, but then that beautiful, like, man, it looks so gorgeous. The sun rising, and you see the turtles as Mikey's like opening his eyes, as you see the turtle silhouettes are becoming clearer as as the sun is rising, as Mikey's waking up. Just such beautifully done, man. The layouts, the art, the coloring, God, it's so perfect. It's just so perfect. Going so contrast from this dark moment of the death of Mikey to this happy, bright moment of him being reunited with his brothers again. I can't say enough how awesome this is and just how great it is.
It's another thing where you're like, oh, that's why it took so long.
Mm-hmm.
The layout, the art, the coloring, the story, of course.
Yeah. I mean, what can we give it higher than 5s? I mean, obviously,
yeah.
It's a 5. I think it should be given it higher.
Yeah, definitely a 5 for me. It's 5 musical notes that Doctor Strange fights Doctor Strange with. There we go. Yeah. I mean, again, I guess my overall feeling about this 5th issue is that, like, what I really appreciate about it is like the simplicity of it. But I mean, like I said, like bad guy fights good guy fights bad guy, and a little sprinkling of the Casey Junior / April storyline. But at the end, it's a really simple storyline, but it just packs an emotional punch that it can't really be described. You have to read it to feel it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because like if I try to explain it to you, it's just okay. So
we're not doing it justice.
Yeah, the good guy fights the bad guy, and they both die, and the legacy continues, and there's a dream sequence at the end. So that's pretty much
you might
it.
Say, what's so special about that?
Yeah, it doesn't sound very good, but it's the emotional investment.
Yeah, the journey,
the emotional, impact that really has the greatness, I guess you could say.
Agree 100%. Yeah, just so awesome. I mean, I'm going to give it 10 out of 5 musical notes that Doctor Strange fought Doctor Strange with. That's how much I love it. Like I said, it moved me like no other comic has done before. And I was expecting a great issue and a great finale, but I wasn't expected to be this like emotionally affected by it by the end. And that's what really sets it apart amongst everything else, and just really solidifies it as a masterpiece in comic book storytelling, in my opinion. So I know there were several people I know who are waiting for the story to finish, to read the trade, to read it. And now that it has, I can't wait for that to come out and for everyone to experience this story, just as not even TMNT like fans, but just comic book fans. I think it's just up there as one of the best comic book stories ever. It was just fantastic. So yeah, I can't recommend it enough. I can't praise it enough. So yeah, definitely go out and read it.
That's your highest rating, Tim.
I think it is. Yeah.
Much deserved.
I mean, I don't
Highest
think
rating.
there's going to be any mystery when we get to our year in review episode as far as what's going to be the comic of the year. So
yeah, it's going to be really hard to beat that. The Last Ronin storyline. Yeah.
Bravo to all involved. Like, hats off to everyone. It was just a great experience. And I guess with that will be it for this episode. But before we end, and I kind of hate to end it on a bummer, a sad note, but I feel it's only right to pay tribute and kind of give our respects, as we lost two comic book legends over the course of a week, which is sad. You mentioned him in the beginning of our episode, Dane, when we were talking about our first rating scale. Neil Adams passed away last week at age 80. And then today, as we're recording, just before we started recording this episode, we sadly lost George Perez to cancer, which we knew he was been battling for a few months. And it was sad to see, and just to lose two comic book legends like that. But at the same time, just reflect and remember just the impact they had on the industry and for so many people. And just for me, as a young Batman fan, like Neil Adams, his artwork is some of the first like comic book art I remember seeing, and his design of Batman is like, it really helped make me fall in love with Batman as a character and his cool design that he had. I mean, his drawings for Batman are just so iconic, and some of my very first that I remember seeing. It's just, he's a legend. And then George Perez too, just being part of some of the most iconic comics in history, the Teen Titans, Crisis on Infinite Earths, and the Marvel side of things, Infinity Gauntlet, just beautiful artwork. And just even his artwork too, because growing up, or just first being exposed to comic books and superheroes, their art were some of the first I saw, like especially with, I mentioned Neil Adams for Batman and George Perez kind of being some for more of the other characters in the DC universe, whose artwork is probably some of the first I've seen and just falling in love with too. I also love just what a happy person George Perez was, and just some of the interviews I see from him in these like comic book specials and some of the special features on some of the DC animated movies, and just how much he loved the characters and just loved being involved with the other mediums that are taking it or adapting some of the characters like the Titans, and just how much he would love to talk about it. He just seemed like a very happy and positive person to be around, was who loved what he did. And same with Neil Adams, I know, inspiring so many different comic book artists, and just everyone saying what a great person he was, and someone who kind of fought for the creative rights for comic book creators, which is such an important thing now. And which I know a lot of the comic book creators who are getting credit and the recognition they deserve owe that to Neil Adams. So just sad to see the loss of these two iconic comic book legends over the course of the week. But of course, will be forever remembered in the work that they did for some of the most famous and recognizable characters across the world. And for them to be a part of that is something that no one will ever forget.
Yeah, there's few people that you can point to really where you can sort of like say is that iconic image of Batman. I think Neil Adams is definitely one of those guys. Yep. So yeah, sad day.
Yeah, without question.
Sad days.
So yeah, again, hate to end the episode on a sad note, but kind of let it go by without paying tribute to those two legends for the genre we love so much. So with that'll do it for this one. It was good to be back, and as always, I'll throw it to you, Dane, for the outro.
All right, so go over to the Batman Universe at thebatmanuniverse.net, facebook.com/BatmanUniverse. Twitter handle is at Batman Universe. Tim's Twitter handle is at TimG311. And my Twitter handle is at Dane Says Banana. Rate and review us on the show's Twitter handle is at Bat-Fans Podcast. Rate and review us on iTunes, and you can email the show at batfanswithoutpants@gmail.com. So with that, like we say at the end of every single episode, Tim.
We love each and every one of you with all of our 10-year-old podcasting hearts. That's a lot of years of love.
Yes, it is. We'll see you guys next time.
See you next time, everybody.
Sundies under Gotham moon. Crime Alley is a rich boy's tomb. There's a steaming cat, two faces of a coin. Scared